Welcome to Dental All-Stars. I'm Eric Vickery, lead mastery coach at All-Star Dental Academy and president of Vickery Coaching. I am so excited to interview our guest today, Dr. Ace Goerig. He is the man. I love Ace. We get to meet once a month on a mastermind group, and I'm so excited that he's here to join us. He graduated from Case Western Reserve University Dental School in 1971. He then spent 20 years in the U.S. Army as a dentist. And then he retired from the Army in 1991, attaining the rank of colonel. So I didn't realize it was Colonel Ace. That's what I got to remember now. He's been in private practice for 28 years in Olympia, Washington. In 2004, he co-authored Time and Money, Your Guide to Economic Freedom with Kendrick Mercer. And now his most recent book, Dr. Ace's Guide to Personal and Financial Freedom, was published in 2019. He's got a free website for you, drace.com and debtfreedentist.com. It's got audios and videos to help dentists and their team quickly become debt-free and eventually financially free. He and his wife, Nancy, have been married for 51 years, congratulations, and have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. Wow. So welcome, Ace. Glad to have you.
Good. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Now, is it 13 grandchildren and counting, or you think that's it?
Well, my youngest daughter, I've been married about 6 years. So they're 32, 33. Yeah. So they're ready to start, they said. So
that's awesome. Oh, yep. That's so good. Well, you and I, we talk a lot about our clients, you coaching clients as well. And especially those that are interested in the financial aspect of their lives. And I wanted to get you on and really talk about just picking your brain and getting insight from you so that we can help them out with how to be smart with their money. I want them to walk away from this meeting and feel like I really got great advice from Dr. Ace on where's the best place to put my money. And I know that your new book talks about that. So share with us a little bit about your book and just give us some insight.
Well, it's interesting. I created this book because I realized I have made so many bad investments in my life, but I have an excuse. I'm a dentist. I have about timeshares. I've bought land where I never was going to live. I bought oil wells over the phone that I lost in a month, and and I did day trading. I would recommend not do that. But fortunately, I'm pretty successful at what I do, but I realized this is stupid. In reality, if you really look at it, it is so simple to become financially free. Now I've been coaching endodontists for the past 23 years. There's just by changing their schedule, not their technique. Usually I can add an extra couple $100,000 a year, and that's a good start. I think most people fail to realize that using a good coach can change. I mean, you go in the same amount of time, but you basically can almost double your net profit. You use that profit to basically pay off debt. So what is the best investment you can make? Well, the best investment is to pay off debt. A lot of people think, well, no, I look at the loan. It's now I can get a 3% loan or a 4% loan. Mm-hmm. Well, that 4% loan, the only time it's 4% is the last year of your 30-year mortgage. If you really go, and if you go to my website, Debt Free Dentist, I explain all these things and show you the graphs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if you look at an amortization chart, you will spend the first year of a 30-year mortgage, let's say at a 4% loan, what you spend only about 2/3, here's an example. You spend $1,200 on let's say $1,500 on a loan payment. I know this example, and then basically the first year or the first month, for example, $300 will go to principal and $1,200 will go to interest. You'll never see the interest, and you think you have a 4% or 5% loan. In reality, if you paid another $300 toward the principal, you eliminated $1,200. Where are you going to make 400% return on your money guaranteed?
So slow down, Ace, because that's good. Okay, so if I paid $1,800 a month instead of $1,500, I do what?
Well, basically, you would add an extra principal payment.
It's another payment. Yeah, you're doubling your payment.
You eliminated the $1,200 because
that you would have paid the next month.
Right.
I get it. Okay, I get it.
And that is like 300 to 400% return on your money guaranteed without risk or tax consequence. And people are trying to figure, well, how can I get 10% in the market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say 1,500 payment and we're adding three, because I always heard, hey, make one more payment a year, but really
Yes.
that would be more. That's like a 30% increase on it. So if you've got I don't know, a $2,000 mortgage, pay 600 more. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, what I would do is I would focus all my extra money toward debt reduction with the realization I would pay off my house in 5 years.
Wow.
Basically, the 30-year mortgage, if you look at it, is somewhere between 50% of the money goes to interest. You have a 50% loan. So you're basically paying double for your house or property
Wow.
or whatever. But a lot of they fool you. They say, "Oh no, look at, I mean, why put your money and pay off debt? When you're only getting 3% return on your money when you
It's a write-off. It's a
yeah,
write-off.
yeah, but there is no write-off. What's interesting about that? Let's say you're able to have $10,000 in taxes, okay, for your house.
Okay.
Well, the standard deduction is 24,000. You want the 24 or do you want to write off the 10? I mean,
Take the 24, huh?
there is no deduction, really.
Really? So you don't have to, if you were paying 0% interest, you'd still get $24,000 off?
Well, yes, because it's a standard deduction.
Wow.
Remember your standard deduction. I mean, that includes, any interest and part of the interest and a percentage of that interest. And then, of course, anything you give to charity or whatever,
Yeah.
if you're very generous and you have a lot of money.
I see what you're saying when you put them all together.
Yes, but most people just have the mortgage and you can't even write the interest off.
So we're talking about houses, but what about, I'm a dentist, I just got out of school and I've got a now practice loan, I got a school debt, and I got my mortgage. What am I supposed to do?
Okay, here, this is a fun one. I know the numbers on this. I have one lady, she had $300,000 in school debt.
Mm-hmm.
Her loan was 7.9%. Now, what people are getting out right now is like 6% or 6.5%.
Okay.
So on that first example, basically, she was paying $2,200 a month. At the end of the year, only $2,500 went to pay the principal.
Wow.
And
how many years was that? Was it 30
year mark?
30 year loan? Okay.
And 23,000 went to interest she never saw. If she would have paid another $2,500 toward the principal, she would have saved $23,000. Basically she had to earn up 30,000, pay tax on to get the 23.
Gosh. So you're saying
and
her
payment, and you think that's a 7.9%. So what?
It's more. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's
just you're getting
1,000%
screwed.
interest.
You're getting screwed more than the 4%. They're all getting screwed. So $2,200 a month was her payment for 30 years, and you had her double that. So now she's paying $4,400 a month.
No,
or you're saying one per year.
No, one per year will knock it down to about 18 years, but that's not what you want. And all money should go to pay off debt because your return is so great. So what I had her do, instead of paying, say $2,200 a month, I had her pay $6,000 a month.
Wow.
That means basically what happened that she would have to earn probably about $90,000 and just live like a student.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she'd have to, if she earned 150 or 170, she could live, have 90,000 pay off debt, or after taxes would be about 72,000. So 6,000 went to pay off the loan. In 5 years, she was debt free, and she only had to pay 64,000 in interest and save $484,000, which she could have, she had to earn maybe around 600 to save the 480.
So let's take $484,000 that I saved over 30 years. If I said I just want to spend that money, I would have spent, per year, I'm spending $10,000 a year, 100,000. What is that? $10,000 a year or more, right? 15,000 a year.
For what?
Well, I'm just saying extra. That interest. Yeah.
Yeah, the interest. Remember, the interest is top heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 1,000% initially. Now, let's say you have a 6% loan. It's probably only 800% interest.
Wow.
So do you want to make 800% guaranteed without risk?
You're breaking my brain right now.
No, I mean, it's just all you have to look at the amortization chart
Yeah.
You think you have a 5% mortgage. Look how
I've
much
seen 'em.
goes to interest.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big deals. School loans. Well, first of all, I take the highest loan. Go to my book. I mean, I have a book called debtfreedentist.com. It's audio also.
Mm-hmm.
And, I make $3 on those.
Sweet.
And man, I know, I mean, I make 7 figures in my practice, but I make $3 on the book. So, if you go to my website, it's pretty much everything's there anyway. So,
It's charity.
yeah, it's charity.
Let me ask you
So,
this. I want to go
yes.
back to something. You said if I were to pay, if I go to my house payment, let's say it's $1,800 or $1,500 or whatever, it's a 30-year mortgage. You're saying you're paying off the house in 5 years?
Why not? I
And
mean,
that's,
most people could by
yeah,
actually doubling,
just doubling the payment.
double, or actually maybe you could triple $1,500. They're dentists.
Yeah. And then you're doing the debt snowball technique where then you're going to the next loan after 5 years and you're
Right. The
doubling that
first
one.
loan. Now, first of all, if you have school loans and you're paying 6%, go to SoFi or one of those, or go to I wasted my book.
That's a lending company,
The
SoFi.com.
lending company to basically reduce your loan down. I mean, some people have reduced it down to 3.5% from 6%. I mean, it'll save you thousands of dollars just by, I mean, especially even if you're an associate and now you have a job, you didn't have a job when you're in school. So now you can be able to actually, I mean, you could probably get down to 3%.
Wow.
Wow. And
And
remember that 3% is significant.
yeah, let me ask you this. And then what you're doing is you're taking one loan at a time, doubling it.
Yes. Right.
Okay. So I've got 3 loans. I've got my student debt. That's, I don't know, 6%.
Sure.
I bought my practice. Okay.
Yep.
That one's, that's a big time one. That's, mortgage, or I don't know, $1 million maybe. I don't know. And then I've bought a house.
Okay.
So I just pick one and I double.
I would pick the highest interest rate, probably the school debt, because it's like 6%, but I would negotiate all these
get it down.
Get it
Yep.
down. Most people don't realize, if let's say you coached them, like I coach people, and I had an extra $200,000 you made because I coached you.
Yeah.
I mean, that you just slam that.
That goes back to number one.
Yeah.
So we were talking about
make
3
more
ways.
money.
Make more money, schedule appropriately. I see so many doctors still doing hygiene. Their schedule is out of whack. It's not ideal at all. They're not hitting their daily goal. But you're saying, hey, you work, 200 days a year, make $1,000 more per day, and there you go, right?
Right.
Okay, we do that through scheduling.
Here's another thing too. I would not have a retirement plan. I wouldn't start on that. I mean, basically, you will end up. You don't really save tax over time. It's just as easy to pay it now, but you're locked in to a retirement plan. Number one, I've had retirement plan. I had 401ks. I've had defined benefit plan. At the end, I had almost about the same amount of money I put in with the market going up and down. Most people don't realize if you have an advisor that takes 1%, he'll take 25% of what what your return is. If it's 3%, they'll take up to 70% of what you earn. And then basically, Jack Bogle, Vanguard talked about that. That's why I recommended having index funds. But all that stuff in there. But you don't need to gamble in the market at all until you're completely debt free. It's your best return on your money. It's guaranteed. So you don't have no capital gains, no nothing.
I want to make sure I understand. Point 1, make more money, ideal day scheduling. Let's grow it by $200,000.
Yes.
You're going to get a percentage of that. All right. Number 2, pay off debt. We're gonna snowball it. We're gonna double our payment per month. Instead of it being a 30-year loan, it's a 5-year loan. I've got 3 of those. So I'm gonna get all of them paid off in 15 years instead of all of them paid off in 30 years. Paying.
No, it goes faster than that, because once
Really?
one loan is paid off, all that other money we're putting in, you're not paying that other loan. So that's this old snowball deal. Most people could probably be debt free in 7 years. Yeah. I mean, I believe that.
Wow.
I mean, a school deal, and that's just making a little bit more money in what you're doing, but focusing all your money. Don't worry about a 401k, a retirement plan, a 529 plan. In my book, I talk about, I mean, this is just the way people control you and keep you in debt forever, because they love making 100% return on your money.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that means I got to live a lifestyle that will allow me to make those payments. I can't go buy the big house yet. I can't, buy the big fancy car yet or whatever it might be, right?
Right. Basically you live more like a student until your school loan's paid off. But I mean, you can live well, but have a focus. And
Mm-hmm.
basically your spouse has to be on board on here. And that's why I have the videos on debt-free dentist. It's totally free. And it explains all the things that we're talking about here. You can get the book if you want.
That's
Uh,
awesome. Thank you for doing that.
debtfreedentist.com.
That's
Now,
awesome.
now let's see. Okay, now you're debt-free. Now, what are you going to do with your money? If
Yeah,
you
so now
really wanted,
we're at year 7. You're saying we've paid everything off, or year 10, whatever that might be, and now we've got this money that we've been spending.
right, and you could, if you really wanted to invest in the market, basically, I would only buy the S&P 500 or the total U.S. stock market and not do anything else. And only buy it through Schwab or Vanguard at the lowest basis point, because if you want to, but that's not where the safest place to put your money and the most predictable. How would you like to put your money in a place where it grew at a guaranteed return 4% tax deferred, basically tax free,
Okay.
which is like 6%,
Okay.
and guaranteed. And then when it grows, you're able to take out the money tax free.
Okay. Why? And so explain the difference between if I invest and I've got all this money and I put in my retirement account for years and years and years in the stock market, 401k, whatever, and then I pay tax at the end of the year. What is it? Or end of the when I retire, when I bring it out, what does that look like financially?
Well, here it is. Let's say you go ahead and you get your retirement and you feel you're lucky you're getting 7 to 8%, which is, and we never know. Sometimes you can have a long-term bear market. And I talk about
Mm-hmm.
that. Where basically from 2000 2013, the S&P 500 stayed the same.
Hmm.
Then we have a bull market. There are long-term bulls, long-term bears. We're probably up for a bear market. We never know, depending on this election coming up. But the issue is that you just don't know when you're playing with the market. Now, what I'm recommending is something has been around for 160 years. In the old days, people used to put their money in like whole life policies. Okay, but there are two different types of whole life policies, and we call this a personal bank. Nelson Nash talked about this in the 80s, and a lot of things have been talked about this. But basically, when you buy a whole life policy, 98% of the policies sold to you, many do not pay dividends, but you want to make sure you're with a mutual company that pays dividends. But 98% of the time, let's say you put $10,000 in a policy. The first year, the guy that sells you gets $10,000, and it takes 3 years to get any cash in the policy. Well, Nelson Nash, he came up with a policy where you only paid 40% toward the premium and 60% went in cash. So it's like putting it in a bank. So the first year, you had 60% of the premium. Yes, the person that sold it to you took a 60% hit on their commission. I'm working with a fellow now that used to, remember, the tier 1 assets of all banks is whole life policies on their executives. But they designed the policy where 90% goes into cash and 10% pays for the policy. So let's say I put a $10,000 policy in, and the first year I have 9,000 in cash, and 10 pays for the premium. That money will grow in their tax guaranteed at 4%, and will grow anywhere from 4 to 5% tax deferred. And when the big deal is when you take out the money, it is tax free. Now,
Wait,
here is another thing too with that's what's great.
you just got my attention. You're saying that it's tax deferred, but when I take it out, it's tax free?
Yes, because you go through a process of borrowing the money out. It's tax free.
Wow.
Compared to an IRA where you might end up paying 40 or 50% if you're in New York or California
Or
on
62,
taxes.
62% is the projection for the next guy.
Well, here's the point. That's what's in your retirement plan.
Wow.
And so you think that you have 2 million in there, and basically you have less than 1 million.
And you take it out in little pieces because you don't want to get hit so much.
And here's another thing too. When you're debt free, how much does it really take to live on?
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be better if that was tax free? Now I'm 75 years old. I go in the office a couple days a week. When I retired from the Army 20 years ago, I went to 3 days a week with a week off each month, and I had always had an associate. My son's with me now, and I mean, at my age, who's going to talk to me? So it's pretty good. But actually, I still like what I'm doing, and it's kind of fun hurting people. But so it's one of those things I really enjoy. But I don't even need to touch any of my retirement plan. I've been financially free for years and debt free. I'll tell you, when you're debt free, it is a completely different feeling. No one owns you.
Yeah.
You have beaten the game. And so that's why I profess that. But then if you put your money in, there's specialized whole life policies that 90% goes to cash and basically 10% premium. Now, you're not ready for this, most of you, because you have debt.
Gotta get out of debt first.
Over the next 2 years, you can go to, I have a place where you can kind of check it out, and personalbankforyou.com.
Personalbankforyou.com.
Yes, and it's personal bank, and then a 4, and the big.
Oh, okay. Letter U.
And a big
Personal
U.
Bank for you.
Yeah,
Gotcha.com. Now, let me ask you a question. I want to make sure everybody understands. So you're saying once I'm debt free in, say, 7 to 10 years, maybe worst case scenario, 15, is at that point, then I start worrying about my retirement. And instead of putting money in a 401k that I'm going to be paying 50% taxes on when I retire, I'm going to instead put that same amount of money each month that I would have been putting in the retirement. I'm going to be able to put that in a 90-10 whole life policy that pays dividends. Yes. It's going to grow at 4-5%, but it's going to be tax deferred.
It's guaranteed.
Okay, guaranteed. 4%. Okay, and then when I want to get it out, I can take it out. I can borrow from it so that it's tax free again.
Yeah, but here's the secret with that. That is a gigantic emergency fund. For example, let's say I put in $50,000 a year. This example, I have my book. After end of 5 years, I have $263,000. Okay. Now I'm going to borrow $200,000 of that. I borrow it from the insurance general fund, and I use my money in there as collateral. Okay. So over the next 5 years, I'm going to pay that back, and I will end up paying $28,000 in taxes. Not taxes, but interest. Okay, borrowed the money. At the same time, that $200,000 stays in my account and earns the 4 to 5%. So at the end of 5 years, I've made $63,000 with that money and only paid $28,000 in interest with the same amount of money.
Okay, go for it. You got to go through it one more time for me, Ace. I'm a slow learner.
No, it is. This is a concept that's hard to kind of understand.
Say it one more time.
When you want to, let's say I want to buy a lake house for $200,000. I take out $200,000. I pay cash for the lake house. This is my bank, okay? But I'm going to pay that back over the next 5 years. Every time I pay it was $200. The next year it's that I'm paying, I paid $50. Next year it's $150,000. That's 5%. Then it's $100,000 at 5%. So it reduces down. At the same time, that same $200,000 stays in my life at my personal bank and grows at 5%. And so each year it gets higher and higher.
How is that possible? How does it stay in there, but I got the money out?
No, that's the way, that's why rich people own whole life policies. Because, and basically what you're doing is getting all the interest back you would have been giving a bank.
Yeah.
And making money out of it. This is a kick.
It's like you're borrowing money from yourself, but the money stays in there.
Right.
It's like a lien almost.
It is lien. They use that as a collateral deal.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
Here's another thing with that whole thing is most people fail to realize that you also have a death benefit. So something happens to you, you're planning for your family, for your retirement and stuff like that. Well, you might have $1 million or $2 million sitting in your whole life policy let's say I started the policy. Maybe I was putting in 50,000 a year or 30,000 a year in the policy. And basically now I have maybe 30,000 in cash, but then I die, but my family gets 2 million income tax free. Now, when your
Tax-free.
retirement, let's say you die with a 401k, how much is the death benefit?
Oh, they're gonna have to pay taxes and
They're going to pay
trust
taxes
and,
on it, but it's basically what's the cash in here. Here, if you die early, you have this death benefit. Your family is protected. It is, this personal bank is a new concept. Well, it's been around since '84. Nelson Nash, and it's called infinite banking concept. Most of those people sell their insurance at 60% into cash, 40% into basically your premiums. It is better to do 10% into premiums and have 90% into cash.
and you can find those. Where do we
Personalbankforyou.com. It's a guy that this guy that I'm working with has been around, and he was the one that he learned about it because he was working for corporations that created this relationship where 90% is in cash, because corporations want things in their cash.
Wow. All right. Here's my next question for you. I'm 45 and I've been practicing. My mortgage is not paid for yet. So now I've got my plan with you, and I'm going to have my mortgage paid off in, I don't know, let's say 10 years. That's the best I can do. I'm 55.
No. You'll do it sooner. Once you start focusing on that. Yeah. Remember, wives want the house paid off, or spouses, because they get it in the divorce.
Okay. So that's why I got to, okay.
So we're going to get it anyway.
So let's say I'm a dentist, and now I'm thinking, okay, at 50, I can still buy a whole life policy at 50, or should I buy it now? I got to wait till I'm debt free, right?
No, I would have term. Basically, remember, the deal with term is only 1% of the term policy holders ever take advantage of the death benefit. Less than 1%.
Wow.
All that money you spend into term, yes, it's cheaper, but when you get to be 65 or whatever, you can't afford the term
paying
policy.
For it.
Yeah. When you start a whole life policy, let's say 40 or 50 or whatever, that premium remains the same. And remember, because you're only paying 10% toward the premium, the policy premium is lower. And so,
because it's going to be a longer term, is that why?
Well, yes. Because it's considered whole life, and that's the way the policies are designed.
You pay it for your whole life.
Yes. But you don't have to pay it for your whole life. Remember, as you have all that cash value and it's earning interest every month, or or every year, it will pay the premiums on that. You could stop it after 7 years if you want.
And it starts paying for itself.
It starts paying for itself.
Okay. So I know what people are thinking right now is, well, I'm not debt free, but this sounds so good, I want to start it now. Can I do that now?
You could, but I would get educated on it. I have different links. Personal Bank for You has one. I can send you a link. Can you send out anything about your podcast on connection?
Yeah, we'll put it in the bio and have it in there. Yeah, we'll put it in the text.
I'll email it to me. I'll send you a Word document. Can I send you a Word document?
We'll just convert it over into the text of the YouTube or the podcast link for sure. Yeah, we'll get it out there for everybody.
And basically, it's a bunch of YouTube videos that explains this concept. Okay.
In more in depth. Okay.
In depth.
So you're giving us the intro to it.
It's a concept that took me a couple of months to really figure out and believe in.
I can see.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Just think money growing tax-free, and you take it out tax-free.
So this is a big paradigm shift in investing, because most people think I'm going to go invest in the market.
Well, first of all, it's all rigged against you. Your 401k is rigged against you. When you invest like I said, you pay an advisor 1%, they will take 25% of the money you earn. And if the market goes down that year, they still get their 1%, right? If you have a mutual fund that has 2%, they will take 70% of the money. You will not make money here. It is just a big scam to keep you in debt. So focus on debt is the cheapest way, the fastest way to become financially free. And it's so simple.
Yeah. Wow.
Good. What else would you like to talk about?
Well, I was just going to ask you that. What else can you add to this?
I would go to the website and just practice this, this. Here's another example. A friend of mine, I think he was with Merrill Lynch or something like that. I just compared what he would have earned over a 6-year period with what Merrill Lynch charged him and earned for him. And he had like around 500,000 in, or no, about 400,000 in his regular plan and about 1.2 million in his retirement plan. Over the next 6 years, if he would have put it in the S&P 500, basically through Schwab, with he would have saved an extra $860,000 compared to what his broker did for him.
Wow.
And that's pretty much average.
Wow. These are big numbers.
I mean, the deal is the stock market is a casino. I mean, the fastest way, why wouldn't you want to make 100% return on your money? Guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, it's the taxes that I see that really get you in the end. If you have a way around that.
Well, there is no taxes by paying off your debt.
Yeah. Well, I'm even thinking the 401k versus the whole life. The 401k's got tax to pay at the end, especially if you're leaving it to your children or something,
Right.
Whereas this seems like such a smarter decision. So I'm really excited to do some more research on this. So
also another thing with that is that for your children, instead of doing a 529 plan, put $5,000 a year in a whole life policy.
In their name.
Continues to grow, and basically the time they get to school, I mean, they can borrow from the cash value and pay it back. And it doesn't go against, like a 529 goes against their scholarship ability, because when they look at that,
wow, that's awesome.
And it's all controlled by the government. It's not, we don't know how much money you're really going to have because you don't know how the market's going to do.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so I'm going to borrow against it. I want to make sure everybody understands that concept because that was really confusing. So let's say I've got that 200,000 in there. I can now borrow against it.
Yep.
I take money out. It's tax free. I pay off debt. I buy a house. Whatever it is, I spend it. I'm living on it.
Yes.
How am I penalized? How do I pay it back? That sort of thing.
Well, basically, you would. It's like any loan. You would pay it back, except you pay it back to your bank, your personal bank, right? Mm-hmm. You pay it back to the insurance company, right?
And it's a monthly premium again.
Well, if you miss a month, it doesn't matter. I mean, because they're not going to hound you, but it's better to pay it back because then your cash value continues to be strong in there and you can use it again. Yep.
Okay. All right. Wow. Wow. This is just opening my mind to thoughts about what was I doing investing in the stock market. Now I'm wondering.
Well, no, I mean, if all you have to do is just go to the website and go through the example, it'll get real clear to you.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, this has been great, Ace. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for giving of it. And I want to thank those that are listening for joining us. I think you got some great information and insight today. If you already knew this, I'm impressed, but I'm really hoping the younger dentists that are just getting out into the real world with debt, that they listen to this, and that not only have you spent the time in listening to this, but you take some action and you go and you invest in yourself and do something about this. So thank you, Ace, so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good. Well, hey, have a great evening, a great week coming up.
Yeah. So listen, guys, all those listening, until next time, go out there and be
an all-star.
An all-star. Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Ace.